With us on today's episode of Techbridge. The show is all about bringing all the dots around the world of technology together. We bring all the dots, we put them together and convert them to something useful. That is talking about information. We don't want to leave any information behind, and that is why we do all our possible best to bring all the dots around the world of technology to you, so that you have technology working for you and not against you. I am Sheyifumi Olatide, and the show is Techbridge on Lagos Television. So I'll be talking about something that began in 1973 today. And 1973 to this time, of course, you should expect some form of advancement because we're talking about technology which evolves each day, each minute. So if you're so curious about that, stay with me. I'll be back after this break. It's still Techbridge on Lagos Television. So thank you for staying with us. The program is still Techbridge on Lagos Television. I hinted you earlier that we'll be talking about something that began in 1973. I'm talking about the Global Positioning System, that is GPS. Probably you don't know what GPS stands for, and I've just told you, Global Positioning System. It is a form of technology that began in 1973 with the US military. They actually wanted to track objects and people all over the world. It started like an experiment, and today what we have is a robust form of technology that you can't really do away with if you are talking about security and lots more. So I will be talking to an expert in this field. We'll be talking about triangulation. We'll be talking about the evolution, the history, and the exact deployment of GPS technology. Engineer Richard Ofoezie will be joining me via Skype today on the show. Engineer Richard Ofoezie is an expert in integrated GPS tracking and fleet managing systems with years of experience in this field. He's got a lot of rich background in talking about GPS technology and its deployment. Engineer Richard Ofoezie, thanks for connecting with us on today's episode of Techbridge.
Thank you, Sheyifumi, for having me on this show.
So thank you for connecting too. So let's take it from this place. What should we understand by the GPS technology?
GPS, it's an acronym for Global Positioning System. It's a US-owned utility that provides users with positioning, navigation, and timing services. It is one of the 6 satellite-based radio navigation systems, sometimes called the sat-nav systems, used in navigation and tracking of objects, embedded with receivers, which are capable of processing weak signals from satellite navigation systems to provide the object location data with military precision. The project started with the U.S. Department of Defense in 1973.
Okay, so if you say that GPS is native to the U.S. military, do we have other alternatives from probably other countries?
Yes. In 1973, it started just as GPS, and being the first available technology. More like people, we became used to calling every satellite radio navigation system GPS. But in reality, actually, there are 6. There are other 5. So there are 6 of them. So we have the GPS, which is owned by the U.S. government. So, and then we have the other alternatives like the GLONASS, which is the Russian alternative to GPS, also operating at offering a global coverage at the moment. Then we have the Beidou satellite navigation system by the Chinese. And of course, we have the Galileo, which is the EU alternative to GPS. Then we have another two which are operating at the regional levels. The Wasi Zenith satellite navigation system by Japan, and then we have the Indian regional satellite navigation system, also owned by the Indians. So by the moment we have we have the GPS, we have the GLONASS, and we have the BeiDou by the Chinese government. So, and also the Galileo, it's also operating at also offering a global coverage at the moment.
All right, thanks so much for that brief explanation about what we should understand by GPS. So let's talk about how it works really. Give us some form of background on how GPS technology works.
Just like the other sat-nav systems, GPS is a constellation of satellites out there in space. These satellites are constantly batting us with signals, radio navigation signals. So now, because we cannot see these signals, we need receivers which can pick them up, then process and provide us with location data, usually in the form of coordinates. And coordinates, as we know them, are usually a pair of numbers from which we could deduce a particular an object position on Earth. So by position, we mean the position and the altitude, of course. So, and of course, as humans, these coordinates don't make much of a sense to us. For instance, if I told you my current location is at a longitude 6.613774 and latitude 3.3555814, well, you obviously can't make a sense of this. So this is where the geolocation systems come in. So like Google Maps, Bing Maps, OpenStreetMaps, and the rest of them. So we employ them. They come to our rescue when it comes to doing what we know as the reverse geocoding. So that's converting these longitudes, the coordinate information now to human readable addresses.
So let me take you to this next question. What are the various types of receivers that we have? So I understand there are data loggers, data pushers, and data pullers. Talking about the GPS receivers that we have. So let's have a robust explanation around this from you.
The GPS, we have various types of GPS receivers because users' needs are different. So GPS receivers also come in different forms. So we have those we know as the data loggers, which are usually handheld devices with sometimes with the LCD or even without LCD display screens, and they usually have the memory SD card support, so where the data could be logged. So this kind of GPS receivers, you find them with the geographers, the environmental scientists, and the geologists, as well as some other people who have a need for mapping their locations. Then we have the data pushers, a category we know as the data pushers. So these data pushers are usually dedicated GPS tracking devices. So some which we usually use in a common example of them are the ones we use for vehicle tracking. So for tracking cars, trucks, bikes, tricycles, and some other assets, whether mobile or non-mobile, or they really moved. So, and we have, so this class of GPS are different from the data loggers because they have communication modules through which they can push updates to a server, a central server. So then the third class which we have, the third type is the data pullers. So data pullers are like data pushers, but it's just that it's just a software difference. Usually, just like our mobile phones, laptops, and some other electronic devices that come with these receivers, we classify them as the data pullers. So, of course, data pullers can be upgraded to data pushers. So through some special softwares. So we have a typical example of that, like the Uber drivers app, which converts the driver's mobile phone to a dedicated GPS tracking devices through which you can know the driver's location.
Okay, so if we are talking about the evolution of GPS technology since 1973 up till this moment, so can we talk about the in-depth analysis of what has transpired or what has happened, the metamorphosis between 1973 and the present moment in terms of evolution of GPS technology?
Okay, yes, your observation is very right. So then the GPS, just like I said earlier on, started as an experiment at the U.S. Department of Defense in 1973. So as of 1978, we witnessed the launch to space of 4 of these satellites, navigation satellite systems. By 1973, we had 24 of these satellites, a constellation of the 24 satellites, GPS satellites. So, and it was at then the full operational capability was announced by the US government. But at this stage, the GPS service was offered under 2 levels. We had the precise positioning service, meant strictly for the use of the US military and the military armed forces of the US allied countries. Then the US government also offered a less accurate standard positioning service, SPS. So, what they deliberately degraded the accuracy of the SPS, the standard positioning service. So it was the SPS that was available to the civilian users. So most of the applications we know of today could not come into existence then because of the low accuracy of the SPS. So, but in 2000, May 1, 2000, the restriction, the practice of degrading the accuracy of the GPS service for the civilian users, that practice was suspended, it was discontinued. So at this stage then, that was when we started seeing most of the use cases we have now, like in application of these GPS devices to vehicle tracking and several other applications that require a higher level of accuracy. This was when they came to existence. Then, of course, we know the role of mobile communication technology. So because most of the data pushers we have out there, they need to push update to the server. So to do this, they need the means to communicate. And GSM remains the GPRS network remains the cheapest available option. So that is why most of the GPS devices we have in the market now they come with the GPRS module. Then of course we advances in integrated circuit technology is responsible for the smaller sizes we have today. So today now we have GPS devices about the size of a cigarette lighter. So, and of course, it's possible now to have GPS devices on smartwatches and wrist bangles, fashion accessories, other fashion accessories too, like rings. So, and then also the other factor which has been responsible too for what we know today is that's the high volume demand for the GPS receivers. So this has helped reduce cost drastically. So I remember in the early adopters of this GPS technology in early 2000 paid as much as 150,000 to get a GPS tracking device on per vehicle they wanted to track them. But as at before 2013, this price dropped about 93,000, and today now with as little as even 25,000, you can have a standalone GPS tracking solution with minimal features. Over time, we still expect the trend to continue. We expect that prices and device sizes will continue to decrease, while the accuracy and the application of the GPS technology will continue to blossom.
Okay, that's amazing. But I want to ask you, why would I need a GPS technology on any of my devices? Or why would I need it at all? Why would I have to deploy a GPS tracking device or receiver or whatever we call it on any of my devices or on myself or somebody?
Okay. Yes, we live in dangerous times. Some people track their fashion accessories out of the security concern. Others also use them as just to stalk their victims. So, but for instance, in case of you have had instances where people got kidnapped. It was through the GPS receiver they had it on their wristwatches or their wristbands, so which they had on them. The law enforcement was able to apprehend the criminals and rescue them. So, and of course, people track their kids now. So the only way to track kids now, an effective way to track kids now will be to give them wristbands with the GPS receivers, or embed the receiver on their school bags, or it could even come embedded on their sandals, that's their footwears. So practically any object now could be embedded with GPS receivers.
Okay, that's amazing, because I wanted to ask, why would anybody put a tracking device on a ring? But that's an aside anyway. So let me ask this question, probably the very last one I'll be asking you on this show today. So what about privacy concerns? How do I ensure that I'm not being boxed or being tracked through a GPS-enabled device or GPS receiver or whatever form, without my consent, really? So how do I ensure that?
The plain fact is that no one can track you without a GPS receiver attached to you or to an object you fashion. So the best way to go about this, I will give you tips to avoid this. So there are basically two of them. So avoid receiving gifts, certain kind of gifts. So for instance, like smartwatches. Someone who wants to stalk you could give you a gift of a smartwatch, could be a wristband, could be a necklace with these receivers embedded in them. Then these receivers could also be a software that also tracks mobile phone could as well be installed on your phone, either while you were careless with it or through malicious means. So the other way to avoid this will be to always ensure you understand what every app on your phone does. So routinely, you should go through your app menu, see, and of course, these apps could be disguised as well. They could be disguised. So, but make sure you always understand what every app on your menu does. So, and of course, on your mobile phone, the apps there could be categorized as some are system apps, while some are the regular apps which you install to achieve some other functions. So sometimes they could install this app as system apps through a process called routing. So in which case you accept, before you accept a gift of a mobile phone too, you should be sure of whom you are getting this from.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing your wealth of experience with us on today's episode of Techbridge, talking about the GPS technology and the issues around it. Engineer Ofoezie, thanks so much for connecting with us.
It's been a pleasure being on Techbridge.
Well, that was Engineer Richard Ofoezie, a technology expert with specialization in GPS technology and lots more. So, now you have it. You should be careful the gifts you receive. You should be careful where you move to. And what should I say again? You should be careful when you put your location on your mobile system. You should also be careful which app runs on your system. You should know every app and what each app does on your phone. Otherwise, you might be prone to some of these issues we've been talking about. And that's our episode today on Techbridge on Lagos Television, talking about the global positioning system, where it all began, what we have at the moment, and the issues you should pay attention to. Remember that Techbridge is available on YouTube. On YouTube, we are Techbridge LTV. On Facebook, we are Techbridge LTV as well. Do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can have a prompt of this fresh episode and all other previous episodes. You can watch them again and again. So till some other time, keep innovating, keep achieving more, and keep leveraging on technology. I am Shoyi from Yola today. Bye for now.